Okay, so we're going to finish part 2 of the Rule 2 definitions tonight. Last Monday night, for those that you were on here, we kind of got all the way about halfway through the presentation. We got about the other half of the presentation to do tonight. We're going to do similar to what we did last Monday night. We're going to talk about some definitions that are in the rule book, and then hopefully on a couple topics we'll be able to show some videos and to kind of help enhance what the definition means. And again, I encourage you, please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat window. And then when we get done at the end, we'll have another just general Q&A session, and you can ask us about the presentation, or if you have any other issues about how to get signed up, how to get scheduled for games, how to get your uniform, etc. We can address that stuff at the end of the class tonight. So I'm going to jump to where we left off last week. Which was, I think, we left off on chop blocks. Okay, oh, why I did that, I don't know. Now I have to go there again. Okay, when we talk about a chop block, we're talking about a block that has 2 players against 1 player, and of those 2 players, one is blocking low and one is blocking high, or vice versa, however you want to say it. If they happen to both go low, that's not a chop block, and if they happen to both go high, that's not a chop block either. They have to have one of those guys going high and the other high guy going low. So that's what it's saying here. This is a combination block by any 2 players against an opponent, obviously not the ball carrier, anywhere on the field, and it could be with or without delay. You might have just a very minor delay between it, and we would still consider that a chop block. The low component is at the opponent's thigh or below. And this is a personal foul, 15-yarder, because this is a very dangerous block. And, you know, it used to be interesting enough that chop blocks were legal, but it's been years since that's been taken out of the game because it does put the person being blocked at significant risk of injury. I'm going to show you an example here, and I believe this one here is going to be on the right guard and right tackle, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about, that high-low component in the block. I'll play it again. Watch that right guard and that right tackle. You can see that the right guard went low and the tackle contacted the guy high, and it basically, fortunately, didn't hurt the guy, but they actually did commit a chop block foul. I don't think this was caught by this crew. Okay, now let's talk about blocking the back and flipping. And this is where, unfortunately, not being in person and having everybody in the room with us, that, you know, we can kind of demonstrate a few examples in front of everybody about here's a block from the side versus a block from the back. But we're going to do our best to go through slides. I think I might have a slide or 2 on this. I mean, a video or 2 on this, and we'll play that as well. So block in the back, that's just contact against an opponent occurring when the force of the initial contact, and here's the key, the force of the initial contact is from behind and above the waist. So we're talking about those blocks from behind and above the waist. A lot of times we'll see this when somebody's kind of in chase mode. Typically, you'll see most of your blocks in the back you're going to see are going to involve kick plays. And you're going to see an opponent kind of in this chase mode, chasing a guy from behind, and that's when he'll commit that block in the back foul. Now, a clip is the same thing in that it is from behind as well, but the contact is at or below the waist. And that is a more egregious foul. That's a personal foul. That's why it carries a 15-yard foul. You can all imagine getting hit pretty forcibly from behind, below the waist, you know, runs the risk of injuring somebody. Now, there is an exception, and I think the good news here is really this exception really doesn't come into play because this is the blocking zone that I talked about in the last class. And I said the good news is it really only applies to this situation where that zone would apply. And with so many teams, you know, running a shotgun, the blocking zone disintegrates. So what they're saying here is, by rule, linemen who are in that blocking zone, it's still illegal if the force of the initial contact is from, behind, and at or below the knees. However, they can block, believe it or not, between the knees and the waist from behind. But they have to be in the blocking zone, and the ball has to be in the blocking zone. And that blocking zone only goes 3 yards deep, and forward. So if you're in a shotgun formation, that blocking zone is disintegrated once the quarterback touches the ball. So you don't really see this a lot. I've never even had this foul, but it is in the rule book, and I wanted to make sure you understood it. The main thing here about blocking the back is we want to see that entire play. The position of the blocker's head or feet, doesn't necessarily indicate the point of the initial contact. And a lot of times you might see a player that turns at the last minute and then somebody couldn't stop and they're going to hit him in the back. So you want to try to see that whole entire play so that you can make the best judgment of, was this truly a block in the back? I think a clip's probably going to be a little bit easier to recognize. Okay, let's see here. I think this is turn this off. Going to have a couple blocks in the back here. Watch as we get downfield here. There's one coming up right here. I think you saw the 20, and there's another one coming up. I think it was right there, right by the ball. We did get a flag down for that. So it looks like we had 2 of them on this foul. And again, both of these players looked like they were in kind of a chase mode. If you look at it again, I'm going to play it again. Kicks are where you're going to see blocks in the back the most. All right, you saw that one right there? Clearly the initial force and contact is in the back of that player, so it happens right around the B19, it looks like. That would be an illegal block in the back. This back judge may have been focused on whether the receiver caught the ball, but I would hope that a sideline official would have been looking in here and could have seen that. There might have been a flag down. I didn't see one. And then we're going to see another one right up here where you're going to see this player right there on the hash marks. The player in the red jersey is going to come in and hit the number 18, I think it was, or 10 in the white. That's clearly another block in the back, and I think we had a flag down for that, so that's good that they caught that.
Hey, Bruce. Excuse me, Bruce. We have a question. Which block would decide where the ball is spotted?
What was the question, Keith?
Which block would decide where the ball is spotted? And I was busy doing something else when you were.
Well, yeah, we have multiple fouls by the receiving team in this scenario. So their opponent is going to pick the foul that's actually going to give them the best penalty enforcement. So they're probably going to enforce the penalty on the second block because that's going to put the ball farther back. And we'll get into that in penalty enforcement, but the second one, since those fouls were at different locations, the kicking team is going to pick the foul at the location that's going to give them the best penalty enforcement. Is that what they were asking, Keith?
Correct, Bruce.
All right. And then we got an example of a clip here. This one's actually going to actually called by the umpire. It's going to happen just a couple yards downfield. You're going to see a lineman that's actually going to clip a Team B player. It's going to be number 75 right down here, running just inside that 50-yard line. You're going to see him. And if you see right there, his initial force against that defender was from behind and below the waist. And you can see the guy that got clipped, he's kind of walking a little bit funny when he got up, but that's a clipping foul. And we don't see clipping as much anymore, which is a good thing. But something we definitely want to be have our eyes peeled for, because when it does occur, we don't want to miss it. We want to catch it for sure. Okay, moving on. Blindside block. So this is something that got added as a foul about 2-3 years ago. And this is those, you used to see these fouls on TV, and then if you're in stands, you'd hear, ooh, everyone would make a big sound, ooh, somebody blew somebody up. And those typically involve the blindside block, where the guy gets blew up, didn't really see the person coming that hit him. And so definition of blindside block, it's an open field block against an opponent that's initiated from outside that opponent's field of vision or otherwise in such a manner that the opponent cannot reasonably defend himself against the block. So no player shall deliver a blindside block by attacking an opponent with forcible contact. Just note, this does not say that you cannot do a blindside block, but you can't do it forcibly and in an attacking fashion. So there are exceptions, obviously, the runner or the receiver in the act of attempting to make a catch. And typically, those are not things that we consider blindside block. Somebody trying to make a catch or make a tackle is not subject to this. Now, a blindside block could also have a targeting element to it too, because a person that's being blocked could be considered a defenseless player in this case, and if it meets all the criteria for targeting, you might even have a targeting element as well. Okay, I got an example here, and again, blindside blocks. These are most of the time going to open when you have open field area. So, you know, that's where you really have to have your head on a swivel and know where your keys are, where your area of focus is, and be, you know, when you get into that open field and somebody's making a long run, you want to definitely have your eyes ready to see if all the blocks are legal, and certainly you want to catch every illegal blindside block that you can. Okay, so I think this one's going to happen. Number 4 down here, that's at the that looks like the A43 is going to be the one who gets kind of blown up here, and this is actually would be an illegal blindside block. You can see 22 came in and just laid into him pretty good, and you can see number 4 is hurting. He ends up getting up, but I'm sure he felt that. It's a high risk block, high risk for somebody getting an injury. That's why we definitely want to catch it. I'll play it one more time just so everyone can see it. There you saw it again, right? Now, I have an example of, this is what the NCAA and the UIL are trying to get players to do, not to do those blindside blocks where they're really just cranking these dudes up and it's high risk for injury. Here's what they would prefer, and it's just as effective as a blocking technique than blowing the guy up. So it's a kickoff return, or might even be punt return, I think.
Now, this is the contrast. We're going to illustrate.
I want you to watch this player right here about at the, looks like he's at about B42. They raised his hands up, didn't come in forcefully to attack anybody, but he took the defender off his path to the runner, did the same thing, actually screen blocked 2 guys. And, if he'd have blown one guy up, he wouldn't have been able to go block the other guy. So I would say this was a more effective technique of blocking 2 guys, and it was not a foul. A good example of you could argue this is a blindside block, but it's not forcible, not attacking in any way. This is definitely what the NCAA and UIL would rather see.
All right, Bruce.
Okay. Yeah.
It's selection, man. My apologies.
Yeah.
I'm in now.
All right, you in? What would you like to do? Would you like to take over, or?
Yeah, do you have to share with me for me to take over? I can just go.
Do you have a presentation that you can share? Or I can run the slides for you, Lexi, if you want.
Okay.
And then you
cool.
talk to me. So
Yes, sir.
Go ahead and run with this topic.
All right. My apologies, everyone that's on the call. Had some technical situations there. But fumble versus a muff. As you can see here, fumble is a ball. Fumble the ball is to lose player possession by an act other than passing, kicking, or successful handing, i.e. unintentional. The status of the ball is a fumble. So you want to look at the situations where it's going to be a fumble or a muff. To muff the ball is to make an unsuccessful attempt to catch or recover a ball that is touched in the attempt. So they were attempting to possess the ball, but they did not. Muffing the ball does not change its status. And what you'll hear that term used a lot, where the status of the ball is not changed. Just like on a kick. If a ball gets touched and is not possessed by anybody, that does not change its status from still being a kick. So once it comes in somebody's possession, then you can have a fumble. But until that time, the ball is on a kick play, it's still a kick until somebody possesses the ball, it's not a fumble. Next part. Muff is an adjective or a verb, not a noun. Possession is a noun. Next. Muffed fumble, a muffed backward pass. One I just used a moment ago, a muffed kick. Looks like we have video here. That's what we were talking about, punt play. This is a kick play. So you have a scrum here. Back judge is coming in, looking and seeing what happened on the play. And Bruce, I'm not sure on this one if there was what the ruling was on it. Do you know what the ruling was on this one?
Touchdown. They just ruled it right there.
Yeah, I'm saying, but did they say somebody touched it, meaning it was just muffed? Okay.
Yeah, this was just a muff. And I'll play it again. You can see the receiver attempts to catch it, and the ball goes kind of through him. So whoever picks that ball up, if it's recovered by the kicking team, it's dead where it's at. But the receiving team could have picked it up and returned it. I think the funny thing here, Alexi, and everyone call, is this poor back judge is back here working this by himself, and you're going to see this sideline official. And I think this is just poor form. I don't know what the deal was, but he should have been hustling in there and helping that back judge as well.
Yeah, he is looking kind of casual.
He came in and got the money shot and walked out.
Well, and in this situation, the reason it's important to know whether this ball was touched or not, and the person that's going to know that most likely, because the person back there with the player that's receiving the kick is going to be the back judge. Mm-hmm. And that's the back judge that's going to have to make a really big call here. So in games, if you're working that back judge position, especially if you don't have an F or an S, and when it looks like here, they do have side officials that are deep, which is called field judge and side judge, you're going to have that back judge out there on an island if you're in a 5-man crew. And you got to determine if that ball was touched, because if that was a kick that wasn't touched and it goes in the end zone untouched, and then let's say the kicking team comes in and dives on the ball, you don't have a touchdown. You have a touchback. And the ball still belongs to the receiving team at the 20-yard line going out.
That's right. And thing here, I know, Flex, this was not even a 5-man crew. I mean, this was actually a 7-man crew. So
right.
This deep blank on the top should have been able to get in there a lot quicker and help that back judge kind of clean up that pile and determine who recovered it.
Right. I do see some casual movement here. And the philosophy is to hustle, not hurry. But I didn't see any hustle or hurry. Next slide. Why it's important to understand the difference. On 4th down or an extra point try, if Team A player fumbles and another Team A player recovers it, the ball becomes dead. Not so with the recovery of a ball that is muffed. So you have on a 4th down, and you'll see everyone that is rolling their arms on 4th down. That means 4th down fumble rules are in effect. And that's what you have in these situations. You're talking about 4th down fumble rules. So.
Oops. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Go ahead. Next.
All right.
So on a 4th down or on a try, the quarterback takes the snap and tries to hand it to the fullback, but they miss the exchange and the ball ends up on the ground. Fullback picks up the ball off the ground and runs for a touchdown. What do we have? No score. Ball is dead when the fullback recovered it, because on 4th down fumble rules are in effect in that situation. On 4th down or on a try, the ball can't be simply a muff in that situation. That ball would have need to been possessed by the running back And then if he fumbled, he could have picked it up and carried it into the end zone, as long as he's not down. Then they can go in and score. Otherwise, that would have been a situation where the fullback would have needed to fully possess the ball before the fumble for it to be a fumble to be in effect. Otherwise, it is a muff. That exchange is a muff, and the quarterback was the last person to possess it. That is the only person that can recover that fumble that the quarterback would have made and advance the ball. On fourth down or on a try, the quarterback does not control the snap, and it ends up on the ground. The fullback picks up the ball off the ground and runs for a touchdown. What do you have in that situation? Because we're talking about a situation where the quarterback does not control the snap. So they don't possess it, but the ball ends up on the ground. Fullback picks it up, runs it in. What do we have? If you said touchdown, you're correct. In that situation, ball was never possessed by the quarterback. So you do not have a muff. You have a loose ball, fumble, never possessed. Fullback is able to pick up the ball and run it in.
I think you meant to say you have a muff snap in this case and not a fumble, right?
Right. Right. Yeah, muff snap. Yes. But no one ever possessed that ball that was snapped. That's the point I'm making. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Okay, team A punts the ball from the A30 and team B receiver attempts to catch the ball at the B25. The ball goes through team B's receiver arms, hits him in the chest, rolling down on the ground. When a kicking team player picks up the ball off the ground at the B8 and runs for an apparent touchdown, what do we have? Team A's ball 1st and 10 at the B8. This goes back to one of the definitions that I believe you covered last week, Bruce, in that we're not advancing a kick, a fumble on a kicking play. Team A is not advancing. The team that kicked the ball is not going to advance that beyond the B8, whether it's a scrimmage kick, whether it's a free kick, whether it's a kick after a safety, which is going to be a free kick. So they're not advancing the ball. They get the possession by gaining possession of the ball, but they do not get to advance that ball.
Yeah, we would blow the whistle in that case once that teammate player possessed the ball. I mean, we would try to shut that down. Sometimes our brains parse it a little bit slow and they get a run a little bit. So I can see how this guy could have picked it up at the B8. Might have got to the goal line before the officials killed it, but the officials are still going to kill it and bring that ball back to the B8. And I think you saw in that first one of those videos I showed, they got the ball muffed it. There's a scrum. The ball ends up in the end zone. Team A ends up on it. Well, the ball's dead right there. It's team A's in possession, but they're in their opponent's end zone. So that's why that was a touchdown.
And I've seen one or two things happen in the situation, Bruce, where either you have a crew that may not be very seasoned, and they might be confused on that. And that's why I'm sharing it as I am I hope I'm sharing it strong enough that in that situation on a kick play, team A is not able to advance the football. And somebody has to step up and blow a whistle in that situation. Or when it goes in, say, hey, if somebody tries to put their arms up and say it's a touchdown, you be the crusader and say, nope, it's not a touchdown. Can't advance that kick.
And to add to that, what I tend to do is on a scrimmage kick or a free kick, I go over in my head, it's a kick. And the only way that a kicking team can advance it if it's a fumble. If it's a muff, they cannot.
That's correct. Okay, team A punts the ball from the 30-yard line, and team B receiver catches the ball at B25. He tries to avoid a kicking team gunner, drops the ball. The kicking team player picks up the ball off the ground to B28 and runs for a touchdown. I think we just got the answer from Mr. Laurent. Touchdown.
Yeah, because the status of the ball here now is a fumble. It's not a muff kick.
That's correct.
So that can be advanced by anybody.
That's correct. And that should be my clarification. That muff cannot be advanced. Fumble can, muff cannot. Batting the ball is intentionally striking or intentionally changing its direction with a hand or arm. Batting the ball forward is a foul. Touching of a ball, not in player possession, denotes any contact with the ball, whether intentional or unintentional, and always precedes possession or control. Being blocked into the ball or the ball being batted into a player is disregarded as forced touching. See this a lot on kick plays, especially scrimmage kicks, punts. Something, again, here we go. Something you have to look at as a deep official a lot. And on free kicks.
So the kicking team is in white here, folks. Just kind of remember that. Watch the middle of the field here. Player in the white jersey. What did he just do? There was your bat.
Yeah. Say bat at the ball. So the spot where the first touch took place is where we're going to bring that ball back to. Yep. So looks like, and you see the official at the top of the screen, that's standing right there at the spot.
Yep, and the back judge is coming up too as well. Looks like they got it, which is good. The only thing I think on this, just a variant of this, Alexi, say that guy batted that ball and it hit the team, the blue team 3 player, and then team A fell on it. Well, since that batting foul was committed, right? Team A is not going to keep the ball. So the good news is they got the now, and hopefully they mark the penalty off correctly too. So
one other thing I share in this, Bruce, if you go back to that for a second, I don't want it to run again, but just something from a mechanic situation. If I was the back judge, I would not be in that position where the back judge was. I would have been behind that play.
I think it came up a little bit too early too. I think you're right. I think he was out of position.
Because the back judge doesn't get spots on kicks with 7-man crew. He doesn't get the spot on kicks anytime. So let me just be clear in that. So I would not have been up there with players between me and the goal line. There would be no players between. I would have stayed back. There'd be no players between me and the goal line right there. I'm not running to get that spot because I already have help on my deep wings on both sides or my short wings coming downfield. I don't need to go up there and get that spot. I need to be protecting that goal line in case something funky happened. And we need to know, hey, there was a play at the goal line that may have happened. Let's say we had a ruling that somebody did touch it and they run it on in because they're getting taught to pick up the ball and run it in. So that means we'd have somebody 35, 40 yards behind that play that can't rule. And you want to have at least, as a back judge, you don't want to have that goal line unprotected. Sorry, I had to get that in. That's a little back judge talk.
No, it's a good point, and I was saying the same thing. I personally, we shouldn't assume because we have the kicking team touching the ball or batting the ball that the play is automatically going to be over once the ball just kind of rolls to stop. To
That's correct.
Point, this receiver could have still picked this ball up at any time and returned the ball.
And took off running.
Because it was illegal to bat it, he could have took off running. Well, you still want to be in position to rule on that. So
that's correct.
That's a good point for calling out.
That's correct. That's just the mechanics thing. And so we're talking about definitions of the rules. But one of the things I like to work in is the mechanics of a situation. When I see it on film like this, that really stood out to me as a person that works the back judge position or deep wing. Only on free kicks or scrimmage kicks beyond the neutral zone can we have a fair catch. A valid signal gives protection to the person trying to make the catch or to the receiving team. Invalid signal does not provide protection. Any waving signal prevents an advance of the ball by either team. And if there's an advance, it's a delay of the game. Don't be picky. We want to make this big. This is something I rarely call, even though coaches scream for it. If a person takes off running, as soon as I get some type of signal that I consider to be valid or even invalid, I'm killing it. As soon as that person possesses the ball is possessed, I kill it because I don't want to be picky.
And in some varsity, we don't want to be picky on this. The guy runs 20, 25 yards and you're blowing the whistle, then you got it. But if he runs 4 or 5 or 6, we're not going to get picky on this.
No, I don't even get picky in a varsity game. And one of the things you can do to help out with that is to really just educate your person that's back there trying to receive a kick. If I get any kind of signal from you that's not a full valid wipe of your hand above your head, then that's going to be an invalid signal. I'm going to shut it down immediately. You'll only get protection from a valid signal, and I'm still going to shut it down. Shading the eyes is permissible without waving the hand. So you don't have to wave your hand to provide shading for your eyes. They can hold the hand steady, and that's only when it's sunny. Shouldn't be shading your eyes when it's gray and dark outside. Signaling player may not block if they have not touched the ball. What happens if a receiver muffs after a fair catch signal is given? Next
I think
one.
we're talking about here, especially Lexi, when the ball, if he muffs it, the ball still kind of goes up in the air. It hasn't hit the ground yet. What does that receiver still do?
Right. And we're talking about, that's what we're talking about, the protection versus not receiving protection. So you want them to give you a valid fair catch signal. That's one big wipe above the head with one arm. In that situation, they get protection to complete that catch as long as the ball has not touched the ground. And it needs to be in reasonable proximity to the player. He doesn't get to bounce it up and it goes 10 yards in front of them and they get a fair opportunity to try to run like Bugs Bunny and catch it.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be near them. Think of the goal line in these situations, because we're talking about the goal line now. Think of the goal line not as a line, but a plane. So think of it like glass. Once a runner who is not down by rule has broken the plane, breaks the glass with the ball in possession, it's a touchdown. Once they go through that pane of glass, it's a touchdown. Hits the ground, ball comes squirting out. It was in possession when they crossed the goal line. You have a touchdown. Next. Encroachment. Encroachment is an offensive foul. Teammate player in or beyond the neutral zone after the snap touches or simulates touching the ball. Are we talking about exception? Snapper who may be in the neutral zone. And encroachment is always treated as a false start.
This is going to be one that you rarely call, folks, but it's important to know, because if you watch Federation or NFL, they talk about encroachment completely different than what the NCAA and the UF talk about.
Right. I don't think I've called encroachment as a short wing before.
I've never called it, and I think we got some good videos for you here. But
really what you want to notice in situations when players line up from the beginning of the game early, like if we see that end that was out wide, encroachment.
that guy right there
Needs to back up.
Where look where the head linesman is, Lexi. You can see how far it is.
Right. His toe is on the big line, and the short wing is one tick behind the big line.
Yeah.
So that's an encroachment situation.
Didn't this guy even kind of point to the sideline, I think, if I remember right?
They're all taught to point at you, but not listen to you, just so you know that. They will point at you all day and not be listening to you.
Yeah. I'll replay it again. Yeah, I thought that was funny. He was pointing, hey, I'm on the line. I'm on the line. Well, you're on the wrong line.
And one of the things you can do, and this is called preventative officiating. One of the things you can do early in the game is I used to, as a short wing, I'd have my leg out that was showing this is the line. Line your toe up with my toe from a 45 degree. Is that a 45 degree angle? Yeah, I think it is. Or 90, whichever one it is. But line your front toe up with my front toe and you'll be good. And usually when you're out with a because that formation is probably not as common except for a short yardage situation. When you're in a regular scrimmage down, you're going to have your receiver come out wide, and you're going to develop that communication with them. They're going to point at you, and they're going to look. I was joking. They're going to look at you and say, "Am I good?" And I'm usually giving them a head nod, and I'm pointing. When they come out, I'm already verbally saying, "This is the line," so they know where to line up. And if you do some officiating, dead ball officiating in between, let that player know you need to be back. And when you come out, look at me. If you tell the coach, I promise you, they will relay that information to the player. Because you tell them, coach, he needs to get back. They will be screaming left and right for them to get back.
Okay. Here's one that we definitely don't want to call. This is where we don't want to get picky.
It'll be interesting.
So this is a tough angle.
Okay, so you're going to see this guy come out. He lines up wrong. He points to the pistol. He backs up. You seen the slot back, Alexi?
Yes, I see the
We're
slot,
not calling.
and
We're
he's
not- I'm
backing
not
up.
calling.
That is being way too picky. Allow the player the opportunity to correct his behavior on his own, and if they do, don't penalize them for trying to correct their own behavior that may be a little bit out of line. That's to me what I call, Bruce, and if you all want to chime in on this, that's what I call understanding the rule, but not understanding the spirit and intent of the rule.
Yep, that's right.
So offsides, next topic. Offside is a defensive foul, except on free kicks. If the defender is in or beyond the neutral zone when the ball is legally snapped, contacts the ball on the opponent beyond the neutral zone before the ball is snapped, threatens an offensive lineman who immediately reacts before the ball is snapped, which means they need to be either head up. What we mean is when we say head up, right across from one another, or adjacent, meaning diagonally left or right of that offensive lineman. Crosses the neutral zone and charges toward a teammate quarterback. You'll hear the term unabated to the quarterback. That basically means they got a free run at the quarterback. You want to shut that down. Player of either team is not behind his restraining line when the ball is legally free kicked, except the kicker and the holder. Those are offside situations. Threat and lineman. I think we're going to get an example here of what I was just alluding to with being head up or adjacent. So you saw in a triangle situation, this player is going between the tackle and the end. So if either one of those persons moves, we've got a situation where they're offsides. That is not going to be a false start. That's why it's circled. If that player that is in the blown up circle moves, that defender before the ball is snapped has an opportunity to be able to get back. And if they're trying to go back and get in position and not be offside because the ball has not been snapped, then we have a false start situation. They are not a person that is adjacent or head up with a defender that's entered into the spot between the tight end and the tackle. Defender moves head up into the guard. In that situation, guard moves. We have an offside, as well as you're looking at your center and your tackle. That
So
person.
any of these two guys move because of that move by the defense. That's
Yeah.
the defense off itself.
Yeah, because they're adjacent. That person is adjacent. Now the tight end, before they would not be. Other person, same example, goes in the gap between the guard and the tackle. You have those two players that are really being threatened, and that would be defensive offsides. Next slide. Passing the ball is throwing it. A pass continues to be a pass until it is caught or intercepted by a player or the ball becomes dead. A forward pass is determined where the ball hits something in relation to where it was thrown. When in doubt, it is a forward pass. All other passes are backwards. There are no sideways passes. It's either forward or backwards. When in doubt, it's forward. No such thing as a lateral or a pitch. Just said that a moment ago. A snap becomes a backwards pass when the snapper releases the ball. If a pass isn't forward, it's backward. You don't have sideways passes. It is either forward or backward. The passer is the player who throws a forward pass. He is a passer from the time he releases the ball until the pass is complete, incomplete, or intercepted, until he moves to participate in the play. Forward pass starts with any intentional forward movement of the passer's hand or arm, unless the player clearly starts to bring the ball back with firm control to his body. If afterwards a Team B player contacts the passer of the ball, a fumble pass is ruled regardless of where the ball lands. So you're going to have forward pass anytime there's any intentional forward movement of the passer's hand or arm. And you're going to have the referee ruling on that 99%, 100% of the time. Let me just be clear. When in doubt, it is a pass and not a fumble. So if there's any question, it's a pass. During a scrimmage down, Team A can throw one forward pass. Team B can never throw a forward pass. Only Team A. Team A must have never had the ball beyond the neutral zone. Different than a scrimmage kick. That's different. A passer has crossed the neutral zone when his entire body, foot, toenail, I don't care what it is, entire body is beyond the neutral zone when the ball is released. If they have a leg stretched back and it's crossing that neutral zone, their entire body is not beyond the neutral zone. Team A may not throw a forward pass if there has been a change of possession. If all conditions above are met, it is a legal forward pass. A passer may legally spike the ball to conserve time if he throws it to the ground immediately after the ball is first controlled after the snap, as long as it hasn't touched the ground. So it can't dribble back to him, then they pick it up and want to spike it. You have a fumble. And at the end of the half, there must be greater than 3 seconds on the game clock. Intentional grounding is throwing a pass into an area where there is not an eligible Team A receiver. It doesn't have to even be catchable. The only exception is if the passer is or has been outside the tackle box. He or she may throw the ball so that it crosses or lands beyond the neutral zone or neutral zone extended. So that line where it extends goes to infinity. As long as it goes beyond that, that means it goes into the stands, outside the building, everywhere. This applies only to the player who controls the snap and keeps possession. In short wings, you may have to help out your referee in these situations. Got video.
Pay attention to who controls the snap here.
Okay. So the person that controlled the snap is the person that threw the ball.
That's right. But he relinquished what during the play?
That's correct. Possession.
Yep.
So once he relinquished possession, he relinquished the opportunity to throw that ball out of bounds.
Yeah. None of those guys that had that ball during that play, after the initial handoff, could have did legal intentional grounding.
That's correct. Did they throw on that one?
He tried to ground it. He threw it out of bounds.
A Team A player is not eligible to catch a forward pass if he is wearing numbers 50 through 79, or if he is an interior lineman. So you can have interior linemen not numbered 50 through 79. That's what that's telling me.
Yeah, and remember your definition. We talked about what's the definition of interior lineman last week. This is why you'll see
That's
these
correct.
definitions apply throughout the whole rule book. You got to know what they mean to get the full understanding.
That's correct. Pay extra attention on scrimmage kick formation. This is where you're going to see numbering exceptions. An ineligible lineman may not be more than 3 yards downfield at any time before the pass is thrown. So if they go 4 yards and come back to under 3, They cannot have been more than 3 yards downfield at any time. This is going to be a big time call for you officials that work as umpires at some point, or if you choose to do that in your officiating career. An eligible receiver that voluntarily runs out of bounds becomes ineligible and may not touch a pass until it has touched an opponent or an official. You'll see this as a back judge, field judge, and side judge. Your hat will come off immediately when a receiver voluntarily or even involuntarily runs out of bounds. If they voluntarily do it, you have a foul.
Yeah, and I think the thing to remember here is our new members aren't going to see 7-man. They might be watching the game, but that 3-man crew, this is pretty much going to be on the head linesman and the line judge. And even in a 4-man crew, even with a 4-man crew, umpire's not going to be able to help you. And a 5-man crew, back judge may be able to help you, but mostly this is going to be the guys on the sideline, your head linesman and line judge.
So anybody on the sideline that sees that player go out of bounds should have their hat on.
Voluntarily, if he goes out of bounds voluntarily. Yeah. All right. I think you got to play here, Lexi. I think we're going to have a lineman on the left side of the play that goes downfield. Number 70-something down there on the 5-yard line. Did you see him?
Right.
That guy
well beyond 3 yards.
And this was a big one. They brought a touchdown back.
Yep. Once they're beyond that 3 yards, remember, they go beyond that 3 yards at any time. We already have ineligible downfield.
And it didn't matter if he was in the backfield, folks. He was an ineligible by number.
50 through 79 is ineligible by number. Snap. The snap becomes a backward pass when it leaves the snapper's hands, and backward pass rules apply. It is not a fumble. Snap must be backward, continuous, and to a back, and must leave the hands of the snapper. The snap ends when it leaves the snapper's hands. If it slips from the snapper's hands, it is a backwards pass, and anyone can recover and advance even on 4th down or a try. That's what we talked about earlier when we saw that. While resting on the ground before the snap, the ball must be at a right angle to the line of scrimmage. Don't get picky, though. Can't have it parallel. It is not a legal snap if the ball is first moved forward or is lifted. Don't get picky. Preventative officiating. If Team B touches the ball during a legal snap, the ball remains dead and Team B is penalized. What are they penalized for? If Team B touches the ball during an illegal snap, the ball remains dead and Team A is penalized because you would have had an illegal snap. Team B touches, you're going to get them for delay of game. Snap must be on or between the hash marks. So we got a ball between the hash marks.
Yep, let me see if I can get here we go. You see the snapper there?
No, I didn't see him there for a second.
Watch the ball here. You'll see the double pump by the snapper.
You see that move? Once we had that move, 32's not didn't commit a foul, no one else. And you saw the umpire's flag come out immediately because they had an eye on that. You're probably going to have, most of the time, you're going to have 1, 2, probably 4, if not 3 to 4 flags on that situation. Your short wings, your umpire, and possibly your referee. If you're in a 4-man crew, probably should see all 4 of your flags down. Shift in motion. A shift is simultaneous change of position by 2 or more offensive players after the ball is made ready for play and before the next snap. must be smooth and rhythmical, must not simulate the start of a play. All offensive players must come to a complete stop for 1 second after a shift. So on shift, you got 2 or more offensive players moving at the same time. The ball has been made ready for play, and this is before the next snap. You're going to have a smooth rhythmical movement, and everybody needs to come to a complete stop for at least 1 second. Don't confuse a shift with motion. After a huddle and before the snap, all offensive players must come to an absolute stop and must remain stationary for 1 full second. After which one back may be in motion, but not toward his opponent's goal line at the snap. A lineman may not be in motion at the snap. A1 is in motion outside the tight end, going away from the ball, unaware by A1. Back A2 moves, but resets and is not moving at the snap. A1 continues in motion and is the only player in motion when the ball is snapped. Is that a foul? Yes or no? Yes. It's an illegal shift because you had 2 players in movement before the ball snaps. One of them, A1, who goes in motion, never becomes set for 1 full second after A2 moved while they were already in motion. That's why you have an illegal shift, not illegal motion, because there's more than 1 player. Team A is set, then tight end A1 moves out to a split end position. He sets, and less than 1 second later, back A2 goes in motion and continues in motion as the ball is snapped. Foul? Yes or no? No. Because they became set for 1 second. Video. So we saw here we had 2 people in motion at the same time.
Somebody forgot what they were supposed to be doing.
That's correct. That one is clear there. And illegal shift or illegal motion is a live ball foul. You do not shut this one down in that situation. So that's motion and shift. False start is any movement by 1 or more teammate players that simulates the start of a play. The snapper moving to another position. A restricted lineman moving his hand or making any quick movement except when threatened. Again, don't get picky in these situations. An offensive player making a quick jerky movement. The offensive team never coming to a 1 second stop prior to the snap after the ball is ready for play. So now we're not talking about 1 player, couple of players going in motion at the same time. Offensive team never coming to a 1 second stop. You got a false start in that situation. Quick and jerky movements, as Bruce talked about, when you're talking about sub-varsity play, that's when we're talking about don't get too picky. You got B teams, some of these school districts, and you'll see it coming off of COVID, you're going to probably have some C teams. Some of your school districts I used to work up in Flower Mound, Marcus, they had C teams. And coach is going to be screaming, he was moving. It's C team. Everybody was moving.
Yeah, you're going to have, I kind of cheated, you're going to have ants in their pants, and you're going to have guys wiggling. They're not doing anything. They're not trying to simulate start play. Most of these guys are 7th and 8th graders, haven't played before. Sweat's running down their back and their helmet, down their pants. You're going to see it all, and you don't want to get picky. And if we were to call false start in a 7th and 8th grade game, maybe even the B game, you're going to see a lot of first down in 75, and nobody came to see that.
Go to the video. You're absolutely correct. All right.
I think this is the right tackle,
yeah.
if I remember right.
Yeah.
And the back. in the backfield too, actually.
Yeah, you
So
could
two
have
guys-
had a couple of players in that situation, and in this situation, we're talking about probably a varsity game where you're not being picky. You're actually going to call it. You know, the higher level you go up, the tighter it gets.
Mhm.
Right. Forward pass play classification. Talk about a forward pass play. That's the interval between the snap and when the legal forward pass is complete, incomplete, or intercepted.
You're so cute and you're such a big girl. I'm so proud of you for
Mute.
drinking Erica. Oh my goodness. Ay.
Okay, whoops, I don't know what's going on here, folks. Let me
Yeah, I
see
don't
if
know
can
either.
mute
Somebody
this.
needs to mute. That is cute. But free kick play. Interval from the time the ball is legally kicked until it comes into possession or declared dead by rule. Scrimmage kick play. The interval between snap and when a scrimmage kick comes into player possession or the ball is declared dead by rule. Running play and run. Live ball action other than that during a free kick play, a scrimmage kick play, or a legal forward pass play.
Yeah, and maybe just to get a little color to what Alexi's explained to you, it's important to know these play classifications because they're going to come into play later on when we start talking about penalty enforcement. You have to know what type of flow was occurring, what type of play segment was occurring when that foul occurred because it affects potential penalty enforcement.
That is correct. Good point. And the run is a segment of a running play during which a ball carrier has possession. So remember, a kick is a kick until it's possessed. Once it's possessed and that person takes off, you have a run that is taking place. If a ball carrier loses possession, the spot where the run ends is where the ball carrier loses possession. The running play includes the run and the loose ball action before a player gains or regains possession or the ball is declared dead. A new running play begins when a player gains or regains possession. So you could have on one play multiple runs.
That's right.
Out of bounds. A player is out of bounds when any part of his body touches anything other than another player or a game official on or outside a boundary line. An out of bounds player who becomes airborne remains out of bounds until he touches the ground inbounds without simultaneously being out of bounds. So simultaneously being inbounds and out of bounds makes you out of bounds. Inbounds. An inbounds player is a player who is not out of bounds. An inbounds player who becomes airborne remains inbounds until he is out of bounds. Kicking the ball. Kicking the ball is intentionally striking the ball with the knee, lower leg, or foot. I'm waiting to see the knee. A legal kick is a punt, drop kick, or place kick made according to the rules by a player of team made before a change of team possession. Kicking the ball in any other manner is illegal. And on free kicks, like when you start the game, it's gotta be a place kick. You know, you can't have a punt. Let's just put it that way. Free kick or scrimmage kick continues to be a kick until it is caught or recovered by a player or becomes dead. When in question, a ball is accidentally touched rather than kicked. So if there's any doubt in your mind if it was a kick or not, when it is accidentally touched, when in question, it's accidentally touched rather than kicked. Punt.
You're going to see, they're going to see loose balls that a player's foot contacts it, but we want to look for an overt kicking action, like this player intended to kick it, not just because his feet happened to, touch the ball and maybe even move the ball. You see it a lot on TV games.
You're going to hear a lot of times people say, make it big. In these situations where it keeps saying, don't be picky, that means make it big. It has to be obvious to be something that's going to be a foul. Drop kick, a kick by a player who drops the ball and kicks it as it touches the ground. You rarely see this anymore. Place kick, a field goal place kick is a kick by a player of a team in possession while the ball is controlled on the ground by a teammate. A free kick place kick. is a kick by a player of the team in possession while the ball is positioned on a tee or the ground. It may be controlled by a teammate. The ball may be positioned on the ground and contacting the tee. You see this a lot when it's a windy situation.
Yeah, and I don't know if you've seen it in the game, Lexi, but I had a coach ask me about it one time. He said they were going to have like a little trick kickoff, and they were going to put the tee one spot and have the ball on the line, a yard over. Why? I have no idea, but I was like, no, coach, if you're using a tee, the ball has to be contacting the tee. I'm not saying it has to be on it, but it has to be contacting the tee.
They look for some of the most menial stuff. A tee is a device that elevates the ball for kicking purposes. It may not elevate the ball's lowest point more than 2 inches above the ground. You're going to get a lot of questions in sub-varsity with this kind of stuff.
You're going to be some ingenious.
They're trying to be Jason Garrett all over again. Free kick, a kick by a player of the team in possession made under restrictions specified in Rule 4-1-4, Rule 6-1-1, and 6-1-2. After a safety, it may be a punt, drop kick, or place kick. That's probably would have been the way I better define that. After a safety, it can be either one of the three. Kickoff. A kickoff is a free kick that starts each half and follows each try or field goal. Exception in extra periods. It must be a place kick or a drop kick. That's what I was saying earlier. Cannot be a punt on a kickoff. Scrimmage kick. A scrimmage kick is a punt, drop kick, or field goal place kick. It is a legal kick if it is made by teammate in or behind the neutral zone during a scrimmage down before the team possession changes. Downs in series. A down is a unit of the game that starts after the ball is ready for play with a legal snap or legal free kick and ends when the ball becomes dead. So the ball must have been made ready for play for it to be a down. Exception. The try is a scrimmage down that begins when the ball is made ready for play. Between downs is the interval during which the ball is dead. A series up to 4 consecutive downs that each begins with a snap. A series of downs. Loss of down does not literally mean the loss of a down. I heard Bruce say this last week. It means the loss of the right to replay the down. If you remember that definition, it will help you a lot. It's the loss of the right to replay the down. So now you're not counting 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to have a 5 anyway. B44 intercepts a forward pass beyond the neutral zone. Just before he is tackled, he tries to throw a backward pass to B22. The pass is thrown forward and completed. After the penalty, Team B will have the ball first and 10, not second and 10.
All right. I think that gets us through everything, Alexi, and we got a little bit of time to answer questions. Folks, you may be asking, these definitions seems like jump all over the place. Well, welcome to Rule 2 of the NCAA rules. They're in no logical order. There are definitions that you read in Rule 2 before they've actually been defined later on in Rule 2, so go figure. We've done our best to pull out, we think, the most important ones, but they certainly are all important. And as we said at the beginning of all of our training, you're not going to learn everything you need to be a good official on our new members training. Otherwise we'd be doing 50 classes, and you still probably would need more. It's incumbent on you to study the rule book and to spend a little bit of time. I used to keep mine in the car when I'd go out for lunch at work. I would read it, a couple sections. And however it works for you, I want to just encourage you to continue to pick up the rule book and read it outside of these classes as well. Now, we did record this session tonight. I will be sharing the link with everybody. We're going to be putting these, they're on our YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com and search for DFOA, you'll see our training sessions, not only from last year, but for this year as we're recording them. So another good, if you want to kind of go through this again with the rule book in front of you and kind of listen to what we're saying, that's another good way to kind of let the definition soak in as well. So, Alexi, Keith, any other closing comments before we, can jump into some questions?
Only thing I was going to share in addition to what you said, Bruce, the definitions really come into play with me when I start getting into other rules and I'm starting to do what you talked about earlier, try and apply the correct penalty to a situation. And you may have to find yourself referring back to the definitions so that you know that you're on point in how you're trying to administer something. That's what I end up seeing with the definitions. The definitions are the definitions, like you said, they're in no particular order. They make no rhyme or reason why they are where they are. But when you've had contact or you've had some type of information provided to you, like we're doing in the first 2 weeks here of training, then it allows you to know, oh, I heard that somewhere. And when you need to refer back to it, now you know where to go to find definitions. Definitions are in Rule 2. The other thing I say that I do a lot when it comes to definitions, I go after games that I do. This is why getting a lot of reps in as a new official in sub-varsity games is so critical, because you're going to see things happen. And as they happen real time, your brain is going to be all over the place. But once you've had an opportunity to leave the game and decompress, you might even make notes on your game card for yourself. I want to go back and look this up. I want to go back and look that up. I do that even now. When we get in the game and something funny happens, or something that I may have lost contact with in the rule book that comes up rarely, and I didn't remember what to do with it, then I go after the game while it's still fresh in my mind, and I go look it up right then. And I say, okay, this is how we should have handled that, or this is how I should have thought of that. And it might not even be something that I threw, it was a foul. It was something I just noted and I wanted to go back and look at after the game. I always make notes for myself after the game while it's still fresh in my mind, even if I don't look it up right then, make notes of what I want to go back and review, because those things will serve you well in the future going forward in other games, and it'll be an area where you won't have any question anymore.
The one thing, Bruce, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. The one thing I want to leave you guys with, and you heard Alexi and Bruce speak about it, don't be nitpicky. Make it big. The one thing that can kill a game is just a bunch of flags. You want to get all of your 15-yard penalties, all of those. We're going to miss some holes, but just make it big, because if you don't, then you're going to be out there with 30 flags, and it's just going to kill the momentum of the game, and that's what you do not want.
Yeah, I don't know who taught me this or where I heard it, but it's very impactful. We want to talk the players out of every 5-yard foul we can. We want to call all the 10-yard fouls that really matter, like they really have an effect on the play. And we don't want to miss any 15-yarders, because those are the big ones and have a safety component to most of them. So that's a good rule to remember. Talk them out of 5s, catch all the 10s that matter, and try not to miss any 15-yarders. So I pulled the website up just to kind of show you guys where we have new members information. I just wanted to kind of get you to pay a little attention to this photo. That's actually Alexi on the goal line working a game. This is Duncanville IMG at Globe Life last year, right, Alexi?
Yes, it is, where they got drilled.
Yeah, they did. And you can see that's the epitome of focus right there. Great position, focusing in, ready to make his ruling. So kudos, Alexi, for
It was one of the few times they scored during that game, folks.
In the moment. What's that?
One of the few times.
Yep. Now, so if you go to our website, DFOA.com, and if you go over here under info, new officials info, you'll see the training material. So up here, we have our current new members guide. It's going to answer a lot of your common questions: how to get uniforms, how to get games, things like that. The schedule of our training that's underway right now, and then the training material we've presented so far this year. You can see we've got our orientation presentation up here, the mechanics presentation, and the Rule 2 definitions that we've covered the last 2 classes are here as well. So you can come back and download these as PDFs, and if you want to study them that way, you can. We have last year's recorded sessions, and we're probably going to add the 2021 ones out here as well, and probably move these 2021s to the back burner. But this information is getting updated. There's nothing else to put up there because the whole Rule 2 definitions is out there already. But next week, when we cover things like coin toss and free kicks, we'll add those presentations to this website as well, so that you all have access to them. The other area that I want to point out to you is on our YouTube channel, and you can get to it here by just clicking here, or you can just go to YouTube in our channel here. You can see that the session we did last week is already out there, and we have a bunch of playlists. We have new members training, we have our off-season training, we have last year's training, and then we also have some You Make the Call videos. So another great resource if you want to go out and watch the recording from the last training session. Maybe you want to look at some of the You Make the Call videos. These are all training things that we've created, again, to help people on their own time, get in and study and see plays and hone their skills. So definitely want to make sure you knew about this. You can subscribe as well. So that way when new videos do get posted out here, you'll get notification that they're available. So 2 great resources, the website and the DFOA YouTube channel. So any other questions for folks while you're on? Anybody having any problems getting their TAZO, getting into their TAZO account or into RefTown?
Hey, a couple of things I just saw, Bruce. I did see pop up somebody asking about the mechanics manuals, which you can find on the tassel.org website. You can find mechanics manuals for 3, 4, 5, 7 man.
Yeah, you can get them in RefTown and you can get them in your TAZO. I'll go into RefTown and show you where they're at. Now, this means that you've registered in RefTown, you joined TAZO and DFOA, because you won't be able to get into RefTown until you complete all those steps. Oh, I think I typed something wrong.
Red
That could have
Town.
been dangerous.
Yeah, don't make a mistype again.
Yeah, this day and age, you never know what you're going to. Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Bruce, we just had a question. How far into the learning process do you suggest we attempt a test? That's going to be upon you. Some people pick up things a lot quicker than other ones. So if you feel that you are ready to take the test, take the test. If you feel that you're not ready to take the test, don't take the test. But yeah, Bruce said you get 20 attempts. So that's upon you.
Yeah, it's exactly right. The nice thing about it is you only are required to take the new members test to be able to work some varsity games this year. Whenever you're ready to take it, if you want to just take it now and just kind of get a feel for it, go ahead. Look, If you fail, not a big deal. You got 19 more attempts. So it's really upon you whenever you think you're ready to do it, or if you want to just go take it now and get a feel for it, you certainly can with no harm. It's only going to record the highest score you ever get. So let's say you get 19 scores of 50 in a row, and then you take it the 20th time and you get a 98. Your score is going to be shown as a 98.
That's correct.
Okay, real quickly, in RefTown, I've logged into my account. If you go up here under Other Documents, and then you come down here and you look for Rules and Mechanics, click on that to expand it. You'll see the rules are here, as are all of the mechanics manuals. So this is an easy way to find them, but you can also find them in your TAZO account as well. You guys have any problems locating them, send me an email.
Hey, Bruce, show them where they can go take the test. We just had a question.
Okay. Yeah. Let me I'm going to log on to my TAZO account, make sure I spell it right. Member services, so you have to have an account. You're going to log in.
Auto set.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm in here. I'm going to go to my TAZO link. I'm going to show you where the mechanics manuals are first, then I'll come back and show you where the test is. So if I go onto my members portal page, I click open. And this is where you'll also see the mechanics manual. So this says 2021 TAZO football mechanics and chain clock for chain clock operators as well. Here they are again. You click on these, it'll open a PDF, you can download them. So those are your 2 locations where you can find your mechanics manuals. Now, going back, if I go back to my portal desktop in football, see if I remember how to get here again to the test. I always forget how. I haven't actually done it yet this year, so
I know, me too.
I'm kind of learning as well here. Oh, here it is. It's actually on the portal desktop. I just didn't click. So you'll once you log in, before you click on anything, you're going to be at the portal desktop. Just scroll down and you're going to see TAZO test. Obviously, you won't see the new member test option for me here, But you guys as new officials will see an option for this one here, which is the regular football test. And then there'll be another link for TASO new members football test. And you can certainly take either one. And as long as you score a 70 or above, you're good. But I would highly encourage you to take that new members test first and get at least a 70 on it and get that done. And if you want to kind of graduate and take the other test, you certainly can. But the new members test is really geared towards you as new officials. So I highly encourage you to start there. Any questions on that? Hopefully that's pretty clear. The TASO website's been cleaned up a lot, so I think it's easier to navigate. They've done a really good job of, I think, simplifying the user experience when you log in. So, but again, yeah, if you're new and you can't find something, just shoot us an email. We'll point you in the right direction. Okay, other than that, I think we're about, 4 minutes top of the hour. If there's nothing else, we can go ahead and close the bridge, and we'll see you all next Monday night. I'll send reminders out again. We're going to cover the coin toss. If you kind of have figured out by looking, if you've looked at the training schedule, our training follows kind of a normal flow of a football game. After we get definitions done, we're going to talk about the coin toss, then we're going to talk about kickoff. And then the following week after that, we're going to talk about different types of plays from scrimmage. And then we'll continue to progress kind of the normal flow of a football game. So not that matters, but just thought I'd point it out. All right. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Alexi. Thanks, Keith, for helping out tonight. And we'll be talking next week.